I'm beginning to think that the Republican Party is more environmentally savvy in California than the Democrats, and I can prove it. I mean, I'm just like, it's tragic, but it's just the truth of the matter.
Welcome to the Powerhouse Podcast, presented to you by Sac Life TV.
Hi, this is Topo Padilla, and I want to thank my family at Greg Padilla Bail Bonds for sponsoring the Powerhouse Podcast. We are always involved in the community, so if you ever find yourself in need of calling a bail bonds, you can call us at 446-BOND or find us at PadillaBailBonds.com. Sac Life TV and the Powerhouse Podcast want to thank Mosley Collins for his unwavering support of our podcast that keeps people informed. If you ever need legal help, call Mosley Collins Law at 444-4444. That's all fours for legal help. Hello, and welcome to the Powerhouse Podcast. My name is Topo Padilla, and I'm honored to sit in this chair and have guests on this show that bring information, education, and talk about our country. And today I invited a guest back. I invited him back because as we ended his interview the last time, there were some things we didn't get into, and that was the political end of what is going on in our state here in California and fish and wildlife and the preservation of games. Today I have retired Fish and Wildlife Officer Jerry Karnow, who is, I have to say, is also a friend of mine. We've known each other for many, many years. We became friends through our work as what he did, but we also became friends because we did a lot of stuff for nonprofits and a lot of organizations. And Jerry's a man that I have a lot of love and respect for, and he gave a lot. The thing that you're going to hear from Jerry today is the work that he did and he continues to do today down at the state capitol for the preservation of wildlife. So, Jerry, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me again.
Yep. Well, I understand, and I know firsthand, towards the end of your career as a warden, and not towards the end, at some point, they had you get involved down at the Capitol, working on legislative activities. And back then, when you were doing this, there was a different administration. So, talk about what was going on then, and then we'll get into what's going on now.
Yeah. So, and I had the opportunity to work for 5 different governors. So our job doesn't really change, but the administration changes. And I had a couple mentors that asked, because I was kind of getting vocal on some of the activities or lack of protection of California, because there's so few wildlife officers in California that the public just clamors. They just complain that you don't respond quick enough, et cetera, et cetera. People are poaching wildlife on our ranch and nobody's responding. So we myself and a couple other wardens looked at, what do we need to do to get the tools and the officers we need to get the job done for people in California. So, it boiled down to political activity. So I was able to be mentored by a former wildlife officer that was the legislative liaison for the Warden Association, and I basically took his place. I ended up becoming the legislative liaison for 5 years and worked with a lot of the environmental groups and conservation groups. I worked with Republicans and Democrats and everybody in between, and we actually were able to solve some problems. I actually was able to get some legislation that was signed at the time. They were authored by Democrats. These are 2 different separate bills, and then they're signed by Governor Schwarzenegger, who's a Republican. Well, those 2 bills were enhanced penalties for people that purposely broke the law killing wildlife. I mean, one of them was for enhanced penalties for killing trophy wildlife, trophy deer, trophy elk, trophy antelope. So there was measurements, specificities for determining what constituted a trophy on those certain species, where people would target them just for the the antler size, for example. Mm-hmm. And the other one was for people that took 3 times over the limit, purposely sold in the black market, sold abalone in the black market, egregious violations that you had to purposely break the law, not accidentally. You forgot to pull a
pintail too many.
Yeah, or shot 5 minutes too early shooting time, or those kinds of things generate just a infraction like, there were misdemeanors, but infraction like penalties or sentencing. So we were able to basically we went on an educational crusade to educate all 120 legislators and the governor's administration. And we were able to be successful in getting some of those bills passed. And I eventually became the president. I was the president for 5 years. So I eventually ended up spending about 10 years in and out of the Capitol and had a lot of successes. And to me, it was easy to sit down with somebody from the Humane Society of the United States and then also sit down with somebody from NRA. And we actually carried some bills and did testimony in the Capitol with those two would be considered kind of polar opposite maybe in regards to their beliefs, and actually moved mountains by doing that. And there was 5 main points that we were able to agree upon. One was they're against illegal poaching, they're against the illegal sales of wildlife parts, they're against pollution, against habitat destruction, and there were 4 more enforcement to protect wildlife. And if I kept them on track on those 5 points, we are actually pretty successful.
So it's funny. I was at the Capitol and recently, and before a bill is heard, say in the first committee, nobody's talking, everybody's fighting, everybody's we're just at total odds. Nope, we're not going to meet with you. Here's our stance. And you got this. I'm not going to say poor legislator in the middle, but you have a legislator carrying the legislation. You go to a hearing and everybody's friendly. For the most part, everybody's like, oh. And then the author says, okay, we'll work with you. And everybody wants to work out. Oh, okay. And you walk out of there nice.
Yeah. But in a lot of that, you need to follow up. And you can't just do that, but you need to follow up with their staffers and then try to set up a meeting with their members, and then follow up with stakeholders. And very, very important to have that. So I use a lot of my community-oriented policing in the field, working that into the Capitol. The interesting thing about the Capitol is it's a public place, right? It's for our our representatives to be accessible, which I'm concerned now because they're doing the annex now because I think they're all going to go underground, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, I have a serious concerns about California's leadership to be accessible to us.
Yeah, but
it had been, and we were able to go into the Capitol and show and prove to everybody that we're able to actually accomplish some things. Mm-hmm. I mean, I had even my membership with the wardens. They say, well, even the union saying that you're wasting your time. They're just, you're not going to get anywhere. But I'm hoping it's going to, I don't know. I don't have any
hope, faith.
Yeah, the faith right now is it's and then that's where I'm finding out now that there's new challenges that we're faced with in this state.
Well, I don't need to tell you this, but I'll tell the listeners and viewers out there that, our elected officials are busy. They got a lot going on. One thing they have going on, and it's their own damn fault, too many bills. They introduced too many bills because they're told you can introduce this many bills. Yesterday when I was at the Capitol, they were in a committee hearing. They said, well, we just haven't had really time to do the analysis on this. We really don't understand what's going on. And they said, well, we just have so many bills. Whose fault is that? That's yours. Stop introducing bills. I know a legislator who said he's introducing 1 bill this year, 1. And that's what they should do because, as I said earlier, our penal code books, there's 2 of them now. There used to be 1. Now there's 2. And it's because we're passing more and more and more laws. And my term that I made up, and it is a word, I'm going to get it in Wikipedia, they make things illegaler. That's what they did. I watched them yesterday making things illegal. But anyway, working with staff is great. I personally like to work with staffers. They're more apt to really listen to you and look at you and not look through you.
Sure, absolutely. And there are some members that are wonderful too. And you just have to, really, spend a little bit of time with them and develop a relationship. And those can go a long way to accomplish things. But recently, we'll get into that. I was in the Capitol a week ago, and it's a lot more difficult to communicate or even to put the Republicans and Democrats in the same room together. It's a fascinating thing that's very unfortunate, and it's not helping any of us at all.
No. No, but I will say this. I was at an event a while back for a thing, and there was a Democrat there, a young Democrat, and two young Republicans, and to watch the three of them interact and be together and enjoy their time together and the conversation we had together, it does give me some faith. But you're right. I mean, with the supermajority that we have right now, basically they don't need the Republicans. They don't need to talk to them. And that's not what we want representative of our government. Because I'm going to throw a trivia question at you. I hope you know the answer. What was the largest, it may still be the largest caucus in Congress? Do you know what it was? In our United States Congress.
Was it the Sportsman's?
Yes.
Sportsman's.
Yeah, you did know it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is. It was. Imagine that. It's because you don't have to be a Republican to want to hunt or be an outdoorsman or shooting or doing it. It's for all of us. Everybody enjoys it. But yes, it is.
Right. And the outdoor sporting caucus still exists in the Capitol here. And yeah, it's made up of both parties.
Yeah. So this is the crux that I have some stuff I want to get into. A while back, I had Sheriff Jeff Lykoff from El Dorado County on here, and we talked about the situation we've got going on with coyotes. That's one thing. Bears and mountain lions coming into neighborhoods, and people say, "Wow, that was their land first." I get all that crap. Well, then let's just blow the whole thing down and move to the. I don't know where we're going to move to. I mean, that's an ignorant amount. But let's talk some stuff about the laws that have changed and what you as game wardens, you want to protect wildlife. You want to get them out of the way so they don't get hit by cars. Deadliest animal in North America is a
Deer.
Another trivia point. Jerry's got an A+ going so far. A deer kills more human beings than anything else because people hit them with cars. But anyway.
And motorcycles.
And
motorcycles versus
yes.
deer, pretty deadly.
Pretty bad.
Yeah.
So getting back to that, what say you about what we need to do and what, you think the Fish and Wildlife Service wants to do about preserving those things, but getting them to where bears and mountain lions specifically, we haven't even gotten to wolves.
The department has management plans for both bears and lions, but also there's policies on how the biologists and the wardens are to handle the public on how to educate them, whether they issue them a depredation permit or educate them what their legal rights are to protect themselves and their livestock, their property, and then intertwined with that is what the state law is in the Fish and Game Code. But still to this day, I mean, if you feel threatened by a mountain lion or a bear, and it's in the act of killing your livestock or chickens or your goat, your dog, or your cat, you can legally take that animal. You can kill that animal while it's in the act. You need to leave it lay, contact the Fish and Wildlife. I think the language, for a lion, I believe it's 24 hours. A bear might be 48 hours. I'm not sure because I've been out of the loop for a few years. The regulations and the policies do change. And they do change with the different change in administrations too.
Yeah.
But I just tell the public, I mean, don't be afraid to protect yourself and also protect your property. And you're not going to get in trouble if you contact the agency. I mean, if you want to call 911, call the sheriff's department, but call an authority to respond and ultimately get a wildlife officer or a biologist out there to confirm your story and just tell them the truth, what happened. Depredation permits are issued usually after the fact that somebody comes out and determines that it was a lion or a bear that killed your pet or damaged your property. And then they've got to articulate, they need to find some kind of evidence to determine, issue a depredation permit. The wolf situation and then potentially grizzly bears that they're talking about. So they're under a different protection status. And that's why the clamor with these other law enforcement agencies and the sheriffs is that the wolf has a different protection than the lions and the bears. So it's built in with the policy and the laws that you can protect yourself and the department can issue depredation permits so that you're covered if that animal is dangerous to you or damages something. When it comes to wolves, because it's under the Endangered Species Act, it doesn't allow for that take, so it has different protections. That's where, they're trying to fix that, I believe, in the legislature right now, which I'm not involved in at all. But I say, when it comes to bears and lions, that really hasn't changed. Coyotes, same thing. Coyotes actually have less protections than lions and bears.
I have some friends of mine. They had a bunch of chicken, beautiful chicken coop and everything. And they went out there one day and everything was, eaten and blah, blah, blah. And it was a bobcat. And I said, how do you know it was a bobcat? Well, he said, well, you could see the bobcat walking, but they didn't put a camera on their pen. Well, they were told, well, you can't do anything about it unless you know for sure it was a bobcat. So just like the young man who was killed in El Dorado County, does it take a human being to be killed by a mountain lion or a bear or now a wolf before we do something about it? Is that we have to wait for?
Well, I don't know the answer. I mean,
it's sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah. No, well, imagine how the fish and wildlife biologists and the wildlife officers feel. I mean, it's very, very difficult. They're in a very precarious position right now. And the state has put them in that position, which is unfortunate. So that's another hazard of the job.
Speak in your mind. So let's go there. We're gonna go there. Because last week you delivered a letter to Governor Gavin Newsom's office urging him to support legislation to protect wildlife. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So since I retired, I've still been fairly active, no compensation. I'm not a lobbyist. I don't work for anybody. But I spent my entire life as a wildlife officer risking my life to protect people's wildlife. And I also got politically engaged to help make that job more effective and more important to protect fish and wildlife and to protect the employees that protect our fish and wildlife. Well, I had some of the legislation that I already talked to you about earlier for enhanced penalties. In 2020, the governor signed legislation that basically turned almost, with the exception, there's some exceptions with domestic violence and driving while under the influence. 1 year probation for all misdemeanors in the state of California. That they did not exempt the Fish and Game Code. So the majority, 99.9% of the violations of the Fish and Game Code are misdemeanors. In the past, we could get 3 to 5 years probation that would prohibit, and these were people that would, not somebody that shot 5 minutes before shooting hours, but they killed multiple bears, selling bears, selling abalone in the black market. Appropriate sentencing would be 3 to 5 years probation, where they're not allowed to hunt, fish, etc., or possess firearms. That all got washed out when Governor Newsom signed that legislation as Assembly Bill 1950, 1950, not the year 1950, but AB 1950 was the bill number. And it went into effect January 2021. So we were seeing, what happened was the prosecutors were no longer prosecuting fish and game cases or a lot of other misdemeanor cases. So some of the counties we identified as like poaching sanctuary areas, where some counties were still, prosecuting, but they couldn't get more than 1 year probation. So no jail time, a fine, 1 year probation. But what it did was it lessened, it cheapened the fish and game crimes, right? Mm-hmm. So now more and more people are poaching fish and wildlife, and there's no punishment. So I worked with a lot of conservation groups and environmental groups and we're able to
Finally got them on your side on this one.
absolutely,
Hopefully.
yeah, absolutely. So James Gallagher in the Assembly, great person. Saw he and his staff. I worked with him with the conservation groups, environmental groups, and he authored a bill to basically bring us back to square one to where we can get 3 years probation on people on serious wildlife crime. And we identified, we had the language, we had everything just to insert it into the penal code and the fish and game code penalty sections. And it was a pretty simple fix, but we had to go through the legislature. Wasn't going to be regulatory like the Fish and Game Commission, but through the legislature. So we got, the bill was, I think, AB 645, and first hurdle in the Capitol, bipartisan support, it passed 15-0. So we're thinking, well, this
committee was that?
That was the Fish and Wildlife Parks Assembly,
Okay. Committee.
Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Committee.
Okay.
Or Fish, or Water, Parks, and Wildlife, I think.
Yeah.
On the Assembly side.
Sorry about all
that. Was on the Assembly side.
Yeah.
The Senate has the natural resources.
Right.
So it was like, this is great. This is
Yeah.
going to make it through the legislature, and Governor Newsom can sign it and save face that this was an oversight, right?
Yeah.
Because California, which purports to be green
Yeah.
and environmentally savvy, has left California wildlife the least protected it has ever been in my lifetime. Maybe even in 100 years, if you look at it, because still to this day, this hasn't been fixed. But I'm going to get into the following year. So AB 645 made it through the Water Wildlife Parks Committee, and it got killed in the next committee. It was going to go to appropriations.
Public safety.
But Lorena Gonzalez from Southern California, she killed it because she felt that it was going to cost the state of California a bunch of money.
Putting somebody on probation?
Correct. So that was the reason that they gave us, was that we can't pass this because this is going to cost, for people incarcerated, people violating their probation, incarcerated in jail. But there's no statistics or documentation to support that. None at all.
They don't need it.
Matter of fact, of my 30 years as a wildlife officer, cop, and of all the other officers, thousands of arrests that we've made, hardly anybody does any jail time,
Right.
let alone prison time. In fact, that was a question would be a good question, for the chief to find out, to get some good statistics, how many people actually do jail time and, state prison time. So anyways, it got killed. It got killed in the legislature. Then so the following year, bless his heart, James Gallagher, now the Assembly minority leader, was able to author another bill, another number, and got 8 co-authors. And
You need Democrats.
they were all Republican, which is bizarre because they try to get some Democrats on there, but it just blows my mind.
You're blowing my mind right now. Why you would think that they would go? No, we're
I'm beginning to think that the Republican Party is more environmentally savvy in California than the Democrats, and I can prove it. I mean, I was like, it's tragic, but it's just the truth of the matter. Anyway, so we got into the legislature again. We even actually had more support. We had just a laundry list of district attorneys, other law enforcement agencies, the conservation groups, environmental groups, and it got killed before its first committee hearing. It got killed by the Public Safety Committee before it even went to the Wildlife, Parks, and Water Committee, because the chief consultant for the chair of the Public Safety Committee felt that we can't have any laws that have more protection for wildlife than for what we have for humans. And they're already recognizing that a lot of the misdemeanors in California they impact everybody. And they felt there was going to be a loophole for Assembly Bill 1950. So it got killed, in the hallway.
And I know in our current chair of public safety chair, Nick Schultz, is a very, very bright gentleman. who's got a bright future. He really does. I don't know if he wants to stay in politics because he's like, what in the world? Very
Yeah.
bright man. And I know that consultant, and I see what she's saying. Well, we're going to protect animals. Well, you would think that the mindset down at the Capitol is, yeah, we are going to protect because they are defenseless. And so anyway, I mean, I've been involved in situations in my profession, what I do as a bail bonds, where you hurt an animal, oh, you're in deep trouble. I just can't believe that this legislature is.
Well,
so is California a poaching sanctuary? Do you believe?
absolutely. And you know why? I because of what we're already discussing, but I did do some of my own investigative journalism by contacting district attorneys and deputy district attorneys across the state and active duty wardens. And they go that they're absolutely, that is an accurate statement, 100% and unanimous. They're not getting, some of the cases are just getting prosecuted. They're actually telling wardens to file misdemeanors as infractions so they can just get it into the system. But I delivered the letter to the governor's office. This would be his third shot to pull himself out, to show that the Democrats do actually care for wildlife in California by actually having a governor's sponsored bill that basically just has the same language that Gallagher put in there, and it would fix it.
Yeah.
Wow. So in the meantime, so I dropped off the letter. It's been 10 days, and I haven't got any call from the governor's office yet.
It'd be interesting if you expect one. I think what you did earlier, you talked about going down and educating people. That's what it's just going to take. And it's going to take more of that. And it's going to take you, the public, to understand what Jerry has been talking about, is that, people like him, myself, I want to protect our environment. I want to protect our wildlife. And to have people think probation, you're talking about putting somebody on probation just to put them on timeout to where they don't do it again. And if they do, they're going to get in further trouble. But to have the legislature think about money in that instance, man, that's just bizarre. But Jerry, I want to thank you for being here. Thank you for the time you're doing. As you said it several times, and you didn't say it for anything more, just that you're not getting paid to do this. A lot of people leave their government job and then they go down there and become legislative advocates and lobbyists, and go for it. You're not. You're down there doing it because it's in your heart. And I personally want to thank you. And again, go to that link and read the letter that he delivered to Governor Gavin Newsom, and make phone calls. Your phone calls do matter. Trust me. If you want something done at that Capitol, make phone calls. Look up who is my legislator or assemblyman or senator. It'll bring you to a link. Put your address and you can find that out. Well, once again, thank you for joining us here at the Powerhouse Podcast. It's been a riveting 30 minutes. If you didn't see the interview I did with Jerry before, look it up. That was part one, and then we got into this political stuff. I said, we got to have you back. So thank you for joining us on the Powerhouse Podcast. Hi, this is Topo Padilla, and I want to thank my family at Greg Padilla Bail Bonds for sponsoring the Powerhouse Podcast. We are always involved in the community. So if you ever find yourself in need of calling a bail bonds, you can call us at 446-BOND or find us at PadillaBailBonds.com. Sac Life TV and the Powerhouse Podcast want to thank Mosley Collins for his unwavering support of our podcast that keeps people informed. If you ever need legal help, call Mosley Collins Law at 444-4444. That's all fours for legal help. Well, thanks for tuning in to the Powerhouse Podcast, where we bring you fair and balanced discussions on the issues shaping our community. We welcome your input, opposing viewpoints, and guest recommendations, because every voice matters. Have a topic or a guest in mind? Email us at php@saclife.tv.